My stepmother is demanding something very crazy from me. Honestly, I don't know what she's thinking. And my stepsister, well, I don't like her. Anyways, my father was involved in an accident, so he wasn't really actively involved in this dispute because, hey, he's paralyzed now and he's going through a rough patch. So I discovered something about my stepmother, and I'm caught in between a predicament. Do I tell my dad, or do I keep it a secret to myself? Let me know what you think. Hello, I guess. I'm not really sure how to greet you guys because this is something that I would not think of doing ever in my life. However, recently life has been so weird and unpredictable that I'm not exactly sure what I would do on a normal basis and whatnot. To give you guys some context, my mother passed away when I was 11. It was hard for me to adjust without having her next to me all the time, but hey, I managed. I was very close to my mom to the point where she was like my best friend, even as a kid. When other kids wanted to go hang out around different kids and stay away from their mom, I never did any of that. If I had the choice, I would always pick my mother and hang out with her instead. When she got sick with cancer, I was worried. Of course I was worried, but I didn't think that I'd lose her that quick. Apparently, she was already in her last stages, so no matter how hard we tried, and gave her every treatment the doctors recommended and did everything they said, it was too tough to save her. My dad had been mentally preparing me to let her go when she found out she was in her final stage. Even then, losing her and having to live without her presence was a really big change that I didn't really think I was up for. I still manage just like everyone does. I'm 21 now and in my third year of college. When I was 16, my father met this other lady at his work. They started going out on dates and having fun outside of work, and he even started bringing her over to our house. Before I knew it, a year had passed of them dating, and my dad popped the question over dinner one evening. He took my opinion on it, of course, before he did it, and even though the lady gave me, some vibes, I wasn't going to be the one to take away my father's happiness, so I told him to go get it. Delilah has always been a bit weird in the sense that I did not think she really cared that much for me. Yes, she was very nice in the way, but that almost felt fake. It's like every time she smiles at me, she was conspiring a theory or a plan to get rid of me. At first, I thought this was because I was a kid and didn't have much experience with dad dating people other than my mom. However, I realized that it was not me being mistaken about the entire thing, but that Delilah was actually not that nice to me. Even though I tried really hard to be connected to her, it always felt like I was talking to a wall. As someone who lost her mom at a really young age, it was nice for me to finally have a male figure in my life. When Dad told me about Delilah, I was genuinely really excited to meet her and to look up to her as a mother figure. All throughout middle school and high school, I was surrounded by friends who kept talking about how they felt safe with their moms and how they were excited to do something with their mom. Even when my friend had that phase where they hated their mother, I was still secretly very jealous of them. I never had that with my dad because he was always so busy protecting me from everything ever since mom passed away. That he didn't have time to help me live the way that an actual teenager should live life. And he didn't even have the time to live life the way that he should have lived life either. Anyways, my first month meeting Delilah was really great. But as the months went by and she started to become less like the mom that I wanted and more like the mom I did not want in life anymore, I wanted to tell my dad what I felt about her and how I wasn't comfortable with her, but he was so happy with her that I just couldn't do it. This was the first time in years that I've genuinely seen him that happy and smiling that much, and did not want to ruin his happiness and become a bad daughter. That's why I endured everything that came my way. She was trying really hard to be the best stepmom one could ask for before they got serious. All of this got worse when the marriage was finalized and when she moved in to live with us, bringing Bella, her daughter, with her. Her entire persona changed. She wasn't even kind to me anymore. Instead, she made sure I did every chore of the house while Bella rested. This resulted in a lot of arguments, and when she saw how pampered my father kept me, she realized that she could not be acting like some evil stepmom who tries to bully the kid. My stepmother, Delilah, has a daughter who's a year younger than I am, and her name's Bella. She's 20 and in another college as well. What bothers me is that even though Bella's just a year younger than I am, Delilah treats her like a princess. However, she treats me like trash. Things got back to being bad when her and Dad got into a car accident when I was 19. The car had flipped on my dad and he suffered some major injuries during this as well. This caused him to become paralyzed and the only thing he can move now is his hands. But that isn't a lot as well. He can point at things and speak, but that's really all that he can do. It's already hard seeing him in this state, but not being able to help himself or do anything. But then Delilah kept making things worse by taking advantage of the situation and just completely disregarding me. She's always been a bully to me, but with Dad paralyzed, she makes me do every single thing in the house. It's gotten to the point where it feels like I've taken up the responsibility of the house and Bella and Delilah just stay at home and do whatever they want to. Basically, my dad was the only breadwinner of our family. With him gone, it's hard for us to survive on his savings and social security contributions and stuff like that. I knew that it were just me and him. We would be doing fine, but with my stepmother and her daughter, things were bound to get unhinged. They didn't care for anyone else except for themselves. Even when my father got paralyzed, the first concern they had was how they could afford everything. Delilah could have easily gotten a job alongside Bella and me, but she didn't. None of them did. They made me get a job and support the family, and when I realized that they were not going to pay for everything, I was shocked. As our mother figure, Delilah should have taken some sort of responsibility and take care of us. She should have done anything to make sure that we were taken care of and that we would not face all the problems that we were facing. However, she simply did none of that. Instead, what she did was force me to get a job at the age of 19. I was already working as a part-timer at a restaurant, and clearly the money wasn't enough for all of us. And neither did Bella nor Delilah want to work, so all the burden just fell directly on my shoulders. This caused a lot of arguments in the house as well, because I told both of them that it's not just my responsibility to take care of everyone and every single thing in the house. They didn't seem to care about it, but I had to say something because they kept arguing that I was the oldest daughter, and it was my responsibility to take care of everything. Delilah kept arguing that she was getting old, so she could not get a job. She also mentioned how she never had to work in her life, so a job at this age would be something really new for her, so she would not be able to adapt so well. It was a dumb excuse, honestly, because if they really wanted to work, they could have, but they were very used to having pampered lifestyles, so didn't want to get rid of that. Especially if I could take all the burden for them. When I realized that they weren't going to be of any help, I wanted to give my dad the best healthcare and best life. I knew that I would, have to do something on my own. That's when I started my own business selling crocheted clothing. Initially, it did not go well, and Delilah kept telling me that I needed to get a real job so that I could support the family and pay for groceries and everything else around the house. But I was in college, and I didn't have time for a real job, so I stuck to my business. I'm glad I did, because it turned out really well, and I earned enough to be able to have around the house and save up money for myself as well. That's a really big factor for me now. Being able to save money for myself is helping me gain confidence that I can get my own life back and in my own hands. Basically, the plan is to save enough money so that I can afford the down payment for an apartment and move in there. I'm hoping to take father with me as well, so he doesn't have to suffer in this house with these people because I'm so sure that they're not going to help him in any way. Things have gotten worse these days, though, because my stepmother and sister have reached another level of entitlement. They don't know that I'm saving money for a down payment yet, and they still have the nerve to ask me for even more money. What's happening is that Bella's getting married this year, and they don't have the budget to have the wedding that she's always dreamt of. Bella loves going the extra mile and having everything super chic and fancy, but all her dreams are very, very expensive. This means that they're coming to me and asking for money. I didn't want to pay for her wedding, so when Delilah told me that she needed money to pay for Bella's wedding, I said no, and told her that I was not going to pay a single penny for the wedding, and anything that she wanted she could afford herself. Well, this obviously led to a big fight, because she said that I was part of the family, so I should be helping around. I'm not kidding. Not kidding at all. It made me see red and really angered me to think that she kept saying that I didn't help around the house, even though I paid for groceries and utilities. They didn't pay for anything, and they were basically living in the house for free. Bella was out partying every single night while I was stuck at home, making sure that my business went well enough so that we could have enough money to live. This is when Delilah revealed that she actually knows about me saving money, which is ridiculous because the pouch where I'm saving money's deep in my closet, and I made sure not to mention to a single soul because I knew I'd have to deal with them. Turns out Delilah was going through my closet to find something and saw the pouch along with the money inside it. Since then, she's been making sure that I keep increasing the money so that I can pay for the wedding. Well, I was really angry when I heard what she was doing because not only was it an invasion of privacy, but it also meant that she was keeping tabs on me for every single thing just so she would know what I could pay for and what I could get for them. Looking at her actions right now and whatever she's told me she does, it makes sense how every single time they wanted something, they knew that they could get it from me. Even when I would try to tell them that I did not have the money, they would act very calmly and just tell me that they knew I had it. At first, I thought they just believed in me so much that they knew I sold out of all my items, and that I did really well on my part-time job as well. I used to get so excited when they would tell me they knew I had money. I even told them once that I really liked how they always believed in my business and in me so much, so that they would always have faith that it was going well. At that time, they did not correct me and told me that's not how they knew I had the money. Instead, they kept playing with my emotions and told me that they were proud of me just so they could keep spying on me, and I would fall trap to their emotion manipulative tricks and get them whatever they desired and let them live the life that they wanted. Now, it also makes so much sense to me how Delilah kept telling Bella to plan anything she wanted. That's because she was planning on paying with my money. I've changed the location of my money, but I know Delilah still is looking for it. I'm embarrassed to even think that I fell trapped in their tricks. I should have known better than to think that these two could ever be proud of me. The only time they were happy for me was when I was keeping them safe and satisfied with all their demands. Well, that's all I was to them. Now I feel like every single moment where I felt like they were my family was false, and it was all just a phony act. Update number 1. So, turns out Delilah actually found the money I kept hiding from her. Honestly, after she found it for the 3rd time, I kind of just gave up and let her do whatever she wanted. This doesn't mean that I let her, pay the wedding expenses with it. Absolutely not. This just meant that I let her try and find it, but I told her if she uses the money, then there's going to be some serious consequences. It all went to hell when I hid my money from them last time. Basically, Delilah kept looking for the money, so I told her to stop and stay away from my belongings. This made her really angry because she just kept repeating that it was my responsibility to help with the wedding and all of that. According to her, I should be the one to take care of the family and pay for their expenses because I was the oldest. I tried explaining to her that even though I was older than Bella, it was not my job to provide for her because she's our mom, and as a parental figure, she needs to figure out crap for herself. Besides, if Bella's old enough to get married, she's old enough to pay for her quote dream. I wouldn't mind helping them out, but to ask me to pay for the entire thing is absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, once Delilah realized that I was not going to be helping out, she screamed at me and told me to leave the house. I was going to be so useless to all them. It made me laugh right to their face because there's no way they were going to be able to survive without me. Not when I have a job that pays for every single thing in the house while they take advantage of it. Honestly, I was quite ready to move out. I thought about it before as well, and I can still support father from another apartment. Living here was just making me miserable. So when she told me to leave, I was ready and even went to my room to start packing. However, when I was doing that, I reminded her of all the things I paid for and that she'd have to give up if I left the house. I was doing it out of spite so she could understand where I was coming from and what she'd be losing by treating me this badly. But it seemed like she understood the consequence of her actions because she stopped me from packing my bags and kept trying to convince me to stay. While she was begging me to stay, I just kept looking at her and then continued packing. I think that's when it hit her that I was very well aware of their tactics and knew that if I stayed here, I would just have to continue paying for the wedding. So we came with a deal. I would pay for everything that Bella wanted at her wedding, but she'd have to pay me back for everything within a year. When I expressed a concern about them paying me back, it seemed ridiculous to her, but it seemed like a genuine concern. Thinking about it though, none of them have jobs, and if they want to pay me back, they're going to have to save more than half of what they earn, considering they earn well. I wasn't sure they would be able to do that, but Delilah seemed pretty confident in herself and her daughter, so hey, I agreed. This also meant that I can try to save up some more money in the meantime so that I can accommodate Dad when I leave. Update number 2. Hey guys, I am so angry right now I can't even explain it. I'm actually fuming. Delilah did not tell Bella that I was the one paying for the wedding. Bella had no clue about what's happening behind closed doors, and Delilah did not even think to mention it. Not even once did she consider the fact that I would like, some appreciation and recognition for doing all this, for going to certain lengths to make sure that Bella had her dream wedding. And you guys want to know how I found out that Bella had no clue about the entire situation? Well, it's because she uninvited me from the wedding. Yes, exactly my point. She had the nerve to look me in the eyes and tell me that I was not invited to the wedding that I was paying for. I know, ridiculous. Let me tell you guys what happened from the start. Delilah came to me a few days ago and told me that Bella was going very over budget and planned on getting things that were branded items. Even her wedding dress was being designed by a designer that I've never heard the name of. When I told her to bring me the entire list of all the expenses that Bella was making for her wedding and her bachelorette party as well, I saw that the number was way higher than I saved. Actually, that's not true. I have a lot more saved, but I don't want to spend so much money on Bella because I know she's going to cause problems giving it back as well, and I don't want to risk so much money in the first place. So, a day after that, I want to go see Bella and talk to her about the expenses. Well, even as an older sister, I feel like I have the right to tell her what to invest in, what to get, what not to get. She was making a lot of dumb decisions regarding money and wasting a lot of money on things that would not matter. So I wanted to make sure that she knew what choices she was making as well as cutting down the budget so that I could pay for it comfortably. However, when I went to tell her about all this, she got really upset and told me to mind my own business and not poke my nose in hers. Well, obviously this made me really angry, so I told her that she needs to cut down on it or else I wouldn't pay for it. At first, she just seemed really shocked when I said that. And then she suddenly looked at me in the eye and told me that there's no way I was paying for her wedding. When I tried explaining to her that it was actually me who was paying for the wedding, she gets even more upset and told me that I'm a liar and she uninvited me. She actually told me that there's no place for me there and I should not bother attending as well since I'm a lying, select word. Obviously, I could not handle this disrespect, so that's when I made up my mind to do something about it. So that not just Bella, but Delilah could also learn a lesson. Delilah was also at fault for not telling Bella that I was paying for the wedding. This is a very big thing to hide, especially since our relationship is already so strained. So that night, I went to my dad and I cried for hours about everything that was happening. What really made me feel okay about it was I was going to, do with the fact that when I was crying and apologizing for my future actions, he told me not to worry about anything because he understood where I was coming from. Not that he also decided to help me get rid of this problem, and told me where he kept a good sum of money hidden from everyone. The money that he was giving me words to be used for Bella's wedding, so that I would not have to use my own money. When I counted the money, it was a lot. So now I don't need to worry about paying for Bella's wedding and having her cut down on the budget, because I know that it was just going to lead to more fights, and an even more tense environment in the house. Update number 3. Hey guys, so I finally decided on my revenge plan. Well, it's not really a revenge plan, but it's just something that both of them need to be taught a lesson about how karma always comes back. The first step in my plan was to tell Bella's fiancé about her current boyfriend. If you're wondering if you read that wrong, no you didn't. Bella has a boyfriend that she has had for a couple months now, even though she has a fiancé that she's going overboard with every single thing, including her wedding. Yeah, you ready for this tea? I had her fiancé's number in case of emergencies, and I used it to text him proof of Bella hanging out with her current boyfriend, Marky Mark, and making out with them on the couch of our living room. Mark came over to our house a lot, and even though I've kept it a secret for a while, I realized that Jason does not deserve to be treated this way, and Bella needs to be taught a lesson about how to handle a relationship. At first, I sent him a picture of Bella kissing Mark. Later, I sent him more pictures of them hanging alone with voice notes explaining everything that Bella was doing behind his back. I even snuck into Bella's phone once when she left it unlocked to go to the restroom and took pictures of all her chats with Mark. I sent all those pictures to Jason as well, so he knew where I was coming from and had absolutely reason to believe. I knew it would be hard for him to believe me because he and Bella have been dating each other for almost 5 years now. But considering how much proof I just sent him, he had no choice but to believe. I'm not gonna lie, I did feel bad for him. However, I'd feel worse if he got into this marriage without knowing what's actually happening. Still, I can't deny the fact, the main reason I'm doing all this is because I want Bella to understand that she's not above everyone, and no one's going to keep on taking crap from her just because she thinks she's all that. I had this conversation with Jason in the morning, right after I'd had breakfast with everyone. He called me after he read my text and demanded an explanation for everything. I told him that Bella was not to be trusted and he should probably end it as soon as possible to avoid and getting into a marriage built on lies. I guess she got that from Jason in the afternoon, a phone call, because I heard a scream, and the next thing I knew, she was storming into my room and cursing me out, using words I don't wish to repeat here. Delilah followed in soon after and expressed her concern about the entire situation as well. When she found out that the wedding was canceled by Jason because I told him the truth, her eyes burned with rage as she told me to leave the house and never come back. However, I reversed the situation on them and brought the will from my dad's safe that specifically stated that everything that he owned, including the house, well, it was going to be under my name after him, and that Delilah had Bella and they had nothing here for them. Of course, they could not really grasp the concept of not getting anything, so they told us that they were going to file a case against father so they would get a fair share of either the property or his money. However, what they didn't know, and what I had so much pleasure telling them, was that Bella's wedding was paid for using the money that Dad left for them. It was interesting to see their expression change as they realized they had nothing to fight with. Final update. So I've officially kicked both of them out of the house. Dad is setting for a divorce for a minute. It felt like everything was going to go back to normal, but of course, being connected to those two lunatics can guarantee a life full of ridiculous, annoying surprises. So, what happened was that after I told both of them about the will, they could not believe what happened. Since it wasn't the only bomb that I dropped on them, I also told them that they had no place in this house anymore, and that when I woke up the next morning, both of them should be out of the house with all their belongings with them. I know you might think I'm really cruel for doing this, but the way they've treated me ever since they've entered this family is far worse than you guys could ever imagine. They've threatened to kick me out on multiple occasions, and well, I had to remind them that they would not be able to pay for everything without me, after which they agreed to finally just let me stay. Anyways, since they were left with nothing and the wedding was canceled, they went to the venue to demand the money back. However, the organizer told her that the wedding was a non-refundable venue, and they had signed a contract before and officially booked it, meaning they could not sue them or go back on their word anymore either. This led both of them to my doorstep as they demanded that I pay them the money back. Of course, I stood my ground, and for the first time in my life, I did not let them step all over me. I told them that this was their money and I didn't do anything wrong. Oh, there was no chance for me to pay for Bella as, sisters, since she's not even my actual sister. I argued that it was only fair that they get whatever they wanted from their own money and leave me out of the equation. I forgot to think about how crazy both of them were though, because as soon as I mentioned that I wasn't going to give them the money back, they entered the house and sat on the couch of the living room, demanding that I give them the money or else they won't leave. Okay. I couldn't believe the audacity. After all the drama, they had the nerve to show up and act like they were owed something. I felt a surge of anger, but I knew I had to handle this carefully. So I did what any reasonable person would have done. I reached for the threat that could put a halt to their antics. A restraining order. I didn't want any more chaos in my life, and I made it clear that their presence wasn't welcome. And if they persisted, the law would be involved and I would not show any mercy. Well, this scared the heck out of them, enough to leave me alone and not to bother me again. Anyways, that's it for now. I want to thank everybody who read my story and offered me advice. I'm hoping this is my last update since they've stopped bothering me for now. Anyways, bye-bye. I wish you all a beautiful life. Okay guys, I have a problem with this story. I want to go ahead and just agree with some of the comments I read because I thought it was ridiculous. And here's the part I thought was crazy. If it wasn't for OP's stepsister basically being caught cheating, well, they would have won. And why do I say that? Just think about this for a second. OP was breaking her back and going out of her way just so she could appease to these people, and I truly don't understand why. For the entire story, she was threatening to leave, go to another apartment. She's the breadwinner. She's the only one in the house working. She could still take care of her father and she won't have to deal with this mess. But yet she just kept agreeing and agreeing and agreeing to the nonsense of the stepmom and stepsister. I mean, why would she ever pay for the wedding? And the revenge at the end of the story, in my opinion, was stupid. She didn't waste their money, she wasted her father's money, who, by the way, is in a wheelchair now and is struggling to live a normal life. So I think that revenge was really dumb. Yeah, you can say, well, she did get embarrassed, she did go ahead and get the wedding canceled, but hey, at the end of the day, the stepsister and stepmother didn't even have to spend a dime. I just want to know your thoughts on that. Maybe you could have came up with a better revenge plan, but the one part that just gets to me is the fact that if the stepsister wasn't caught with that boyfriend, they would have gotten away with everything. Had the wedding, had their cake and ate it too. I don't know, this story just sat weird with me. Let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comment section down below. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories like this every day. So if you do want to be a part of these daily stories, all you gotta do is subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow, but do remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.